Well, it started out as just you and me again, Paul. I don't know if I have anything intelligent left to say. I thought I was all out. Let's see. Too much fresh air. This morning I had the fresh air on and I smelled car exhaust. So that wasn't pleasant. Well, I don't have a Facebook account anymore. So there's no publishing to Facebook. I think I'm just gonna keep them on YouTube. I have one follower on Twitter, so I think I'm not even getting in anybody's news feed. I think with one follower, other people aren't reading my stuff, so I think that's how it works. And the Bible says, not one of God's children was lost. Not one has been lost. And where it says that, I think it also says, except the one that chose to be lost. And all I know is that my experience was, I tried very hard with Dina. It was very, very crucially important to me for a long time. I didn't almost go down with him because I didn't know where down was, and I didn't know about black magic, except that I knew I had one experience of psychic vampirism from him that I recognized right away, even though I'd never heard the phrase. I had the experience and kind of described it as psychic vampirism, where he gave me a hug and actually drained the life force out of me. Not all of it, I was still alive, but I could actually feel it leaving me going into him. And that's black magic, and I'm sure there were babies and children on that, and I don't know how it works, and I don't want to know. But it was very important to me for a very long time to try to get Tino to see something, to resolve issues. He had stuff that was preventing him from being open with me or close with me. But I assume that applies to other people too. That he was losing his capability of being close with people. I think he was rejecting any kind of emotional nurturing in his life. I know he was rejecting it from me. And for quite a while, it was very important. It was crucial. And I did everything. And I wrote about it later. It was vitally important to me to convey to him that he was my one true soulmate. And I asked him once, Tino, take my hand and we'll turn into light. And he didn't. He wouldn't. And I told him about my theory there was Thray and Earth. And Thray is the opposite of Earth. And we're inviting people of the Earth to come to Thray. It's the reverse spelling of Earth. It was just an idea I had. Things like that. And I wrote him a little thing. I can be a piece of contamination in your orbit, or I can be your moon. I wrote that to him. But it was the most significant relationship I had in my life. Until I met Paul. And then Paul tells me, in effect, he was Dino. He's the one that hurt me. He's the one that ripped my veil. I did have the actual physical experience of having my veil ripped. And the Bible writes about that. Now, I haven't sorted all that out, except that I was crying so much in grief over Dino still when I lived at 130 Forest Avenue. I remember one night, input from others, in the astral plane, and just crying. And the grief was so deep I hadn't been able to be in touch with it before, right around that time. And then Paul says, Laura, it was me. I did that. And I stopped crying and I said, why didn't you tell me? Why am I crying like this? So the Bible says, not one of God's children was lost, except the one that chose to be lost. And since I thought Dino was so important, and since I put forth every effort I could, while still remaining somewhat intact myself, to get him to see something that I didn't even really have a firm grasp on myself, I figured Dino was the one that chose to be lost. That he had been a valued person in other people's lives. Very valued person. And I don't know if that is a reality or not. My reality is that Paul broke my heart and ripped my veil. And he's probably the only one who could. And Paul is God. So, God ripped my veil and God can heal it. So it's controlled damage because God did it to me. He also sewed furrows in my back. Now, I couldn't explain that if I tried, but I understand it. And there was some black particle-like shit, astral shit, that was pulled off my back and pulled out of my front too by a spaceship that I also couldn't see, but I knew it was there in the sky. And I guess you could say I had been winnowed, and that stuff was ready to come off. And I'd kind of hoped the spaceships would do all that kind of stuff instead of me having to do emotional work, but I'm not sure it worked out that way. I like the spaceship intervention part. Technology, take my pain. Well, this is also short, but I'll upload this and publish it.